Right, talking about the Naira, let's head to the market now. Yesterday, a bit of good news on the NAFEX platform. We saw that the Naira strengthened, gained 8 Naira 78 kobo to close at 1,603 Naira 97 kobo. So not very much right there because we are still around the 1,600 Naira area. But at least it was a gain yesterday, 8 Naira, more than 8 Naira right there. Let's go to the NGX. We saw it's a continuous bullish sentiment right there. The market gained 1.47% and brought us back to the 103,524 Naira. 0.44 trillion. And then we see the equities cap also gained a lot of money, went into the portfolio of investors at the close of trade yesterday. 836 billion Naira is a lot, as we see that it jumped back to 58. We're heading to 60, so hold your breath. We'll get there. So 58.53 trillion Naira for the equities cap, the market value of the NGX as at the close of trade yesterday. Looking at the activity chart for yesterday, it was a lot of positive, or just value was down more than 16%, but we see deals went up 11,000. Been a while since we saw that much deals in the NGX. Volume also gained almost 30% at the close of trade. The fact the sectors that did that yesterday, of course, trust the figures. They're always the first picking for profit taking, for cherry picking. It's the banking. Banking gained yesterday more than 5%. Consumer goods and industrial almost unchanged. Insurance is coming back up, even though it's too soon to say. It takes a while for insurance to really regain some of the losses it had last week, but gained 1.18%. Oil and gas also managed to come up yesterday, 0.12%. Top trade still leading. Transport power still doing its thing since it was listed. I bet investors who were able to jump in have been smiling on how much they have gained on their stocks. Accessco also was a top trade stock yesterday, as well as GTCO. So that's why you see the banking sector was up for the figures right there. The unlisted market will jump right there now and see a negative trade again. It's been consistent at the NESD. It was down 0.13% for the NESD at 1,080.35. Market cap is still around 1 trillion Naira, 1.46 trillion Naira at the close of trade. The activity had a lot of green also. Volume went up. Value was down, very down at 68.75%. Deals went up and stocks traded also 7.4 compared to the day before. It was about 75% up. Then we go to the fixed income market yesterday. We have an auction today, which we expect. But let's look at the trade there yesterday. We know this is where Mr. Godre was talking about, the federal government raising the rates to attract investors, especially foreign investors. So you see, yesterday we had 23 deals valued at 21.43, and we had a lot of activity around March 25th security for yesterday right there. That's for the NTB, becoming very popular. This is where the foreign investors like to look, because a lot of them are short term, and like he said, it's hot money, so they don't have a lot of patience. They just want to come in a couple of months, max a year, if at all, they get their money and get out. And then for the federal government bonds, yesterday we had 20 deals valued at 48.8 trillion Naira right there. And we see the June 2038 security was the most attractive. So we have an auction coming today. We also had OMO yesterday. OMO had only one deal. CSB had only one deal, also valued at 1 billion Naira. But let's talk to Demola Oshitoki now from Access Bank to give us some expectations. Demola, hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you. So we have an auction coming on today. What are some of the details of that auction, and what's our expectation?
So there's an NTB auction that's taking place today where 161 billion will be offered by the DMO. And the expectation is we expect to see these elevated rates. If we compare it to the last NTB auction, we saw rates close at about 21.50%. So it was quite interesting that we saw these close quite similarly to the auction within the previous week, which closed at about around the same level, 21.50%. So within this auction, it's only 161 billion. What we're expecting is we're expecting the DMO to continue the trend of providing an additional allocation. And the drive for that is in the drive to continue to keep these rates elevated. We know that at the last NTB auction, FPI involvement was at about 75%. So we know that they're using this as a good measure in terms of bringing in some of those FPI inflows, so essentially to help to provide some short-term stability for the NAFEX. So the expectation for today is we expect an additional allocation to be provided, and we're expecting to see similar rates. So this should probably hopefully close around those 20% levels, so which should be a good return in terms of yields for a lot of players within that space. Yeah,
so Demola, can you give us more details, like how many units of sale, what are the prices, the maximum, the minimum, and all of that? Could you please share that, at least for our viewers?
Yeah, so for today, it's 161 billion, essentially, which is going to be on offer across the standard maturity. So for the 91, the 182 day, and the 364 day, essentially, what we're expecting is, a similar trend. What we've seen within the previous auction is they tend to oversell across, especially the longer end, which is the 364 days. So expecting that today, that similar trend will persist, where we'll see some additional allocation made, especially at that long end to the 182 as well as 364 day today.
And do we still see the foreign investors interested in the short-term securities?
So yes, largely we're seeing them that interest as well, because we know that at the last NTB auction, at the short end, it was about 17.24%, which is a good return in terms of investment. The 182 was about 18%, and the 364, as I mentioned, was about 21.50%. So a good return essentially for investors. So expecting them to play within this space, as you mentioned, they like that hot money. So essentially they're going to look to play within that space. So we should expect our FX numbers to be elevated within this week.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess we shouldn't get too relaxed. This is hot money, can come and go at any time. Yeah.
I 110% agree with you. The true thing we want to see is we want to see that proper handshake between the monetary policy as well as the fiscal side. So we can see that the CBN governor has been very proactive and consistent in his approach of keeping these rates elevated. So long term, what we'd want to see is a proper alignment between the fiscal side as well as the monetary side to ensure that we have that stability. So essentially, we're not just counting on hot money, because as you mentioned, the thing with hot money is it can come and it can go, so we want to have more stability, because especially within the NAFEX, we don't want to see further depreciation. We know that quite recently there was a circular that came out rather from Goldman that said, we're looking to end at about 1,200 at the close of the year, and the hope is that, if we continue with this drive, the DMO CBN have been proactive in terms of keeping rates, elevated, which is good in terms of providing, short-term stability, but long term, what we want to see from the fiscal side is helping to provide decisions as well as initiatives that will help to provide a lot more stability. So a lot of these inflows can be a lot more consistent. So it's not just on one-offs, and we're not just depending on short-term flows.
And I wonder how long the federal government can keep the elevated yields, because it's costing them more, even though not as much as Eurobond.
No, I agree with you 110%, but I think, it's a case of, at the moment, it's a case of providing, that stability, so we need to, you kind of almost using a poor analogy of you crawl before you walk, so essentially, let's start getting those flows in. And as those flows are coming in, that's going to provide a certain level of stability for the economy. And as that is going on, that would provide, some time to, provide a lot more long-term, initiatives that would help to provide more stability and also make Nigeria, a viable place for investment, which is long-term what we want to get to.
Yeah, obviously. Thank you so much, Demola, for your time, and have a great marketing day.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right, so that's where we'll draw the curtains back now to Sunrise Daily Studios.